So today got a special double upload for you guys because there's two subjects that I wanted to talk on, one with the UK side of it and today one with Nvidia. And we're going to talk about Nvidia because it is currently cheating the stock market, and it's cheating the stock market for two reasons, and I'm going to show you guys today what these two reasons are. So Nvidia today is currently up 27%. It is now $388. It's trading at a P ratio of 201 times earnings, and year to date it's currently up 171%, and this stock was actually $112 in October time. So congratulations to anyone that owns Nvidia shares, especially if anyone was picking Nvidia shares up in that time frame, because obviously from October it's up 246%. And Nvidia is obviously doing very well, and that is also leading the likes of the S&P 500 to actually have a pretty good day. The day at the moment for the S&P 500 is up 0.42%. And actually when you look at a lot of individual stocks here, when you take out the S&P 500 and the weighting that the Nvidia has on the S&P 500 and you look at some individual stocks, for example, the likes of PayPal, for example, in that time frame, or if we look at Nvidia in the last kind of month really, in particular where stock is up 48%, there's a lot of individual stocks in the last month that have been not actually doing that well. You look at the likes of PayPal, that's actually down nearly 16-17%. Another stock that I own, for example, is HIMS. Obviously this is down 14%. Immode down 11%, and all these three stocks are actually looking quite interesting at the moment. And there's plenty of other individual stocks that I could choose to use this, but I thought I'd use three in particular that I own that are looking interesting. You know, these three stocks here have been showing signs of weakness in the last 3 months, where as you look at the S&P 500, the S&P 500 is actually up 1.5%. So the actual S&P 500 is looking quite healthy, and the likes of Nvidia are looking quite healthy. But when you look past that, there's a lot of stocks that have weaknesses at the moment. And why is that? Well, the thing is that a lot of these indexes are actually heavily weighted to the likes of Nvidia. So when you have a stock like Nvidia that's up 48% and over year to date is up 171%, this is actually covering up the cracks in the stock market at the moment. When you look past these big tech stocks, and just not like Nvidia, the likes of Microsoft, for example, a lot of these stocks, because they have so heavy weighting, is looking like, and this happened in 2021 a little bit before eventually these did start coming down, and we did see actually some of the real pain in 2022, is that these stocks are covering up how tough the last few months have been. The last few months have actually been quite devastating for a few companies and have been having major pullbacks, where the big tech keeps going up and is actually covering a lot of gaps and cracks in the market. And then obviously some of this is to do with the AI hype, but in general there is a lot of big market caps that aren't even involved in the AI hype, the likes of Apple, for example, that aren't actually doing that bad. So that's why the stock market is, and Nvidia is cheating a little bit, is because it's actually covering actually a few cracks that are currently appearing in the stock market. An example as well would be when you look at a small index, a small company's index like Russell. The Russell's actually down 1.3% today, where the S&P is up. Obviously the Russell would not have the likes of the Nvidia to help it up a little bit. So that's a prime example of what's kind of going on in the market, that Nvidia is currently covering the stock market cracks at the moment. Now the next thing why Nvidia is cheating, and also there's a few investors that are cheating a little bit here, is this kind of shows you that there was some unknown information that other investors were aware of before it came public knowledge to us retail investors. And this is sometimes where us retail investors have a little bit of a slower information, sometimes are behind a little bit of the high institutions, whether it be the likes of people in Nvidia that are maybe releasing information that shouldn't be released, or maybe they are going to other companies and asking, you know, how much are you spending with Nvidia, for example, or is there just general market data that they have access to that we don't have access to? But there has also been some of that clearly been going on with the likes of Nvidia stock. Now what I mean by that is this: when you look at Nvidia's earnings, their earnings were actually not great. You know, you look at the EPS, it was a beat by 0.17, not too bad. Revenue was a slight beat by 670 million, actually not too bad actually when you consider it was 7.19 billion. But the decline over year was 13% year over year. This isn't great. When you look at a company, for example, that is currently trading at 201 times earnings, you'd be thinking, well, you're going to have more than 13% revenue growth to justify this sort of valuation. Now, the key thing is when you look at the guidance that they've just given, and this is why Nvidia is absolutely skyrocketing today, is because of this guidance. You look at the guidance here. Revenue is expected to be 11 billion. Now, the consensus, as you can see here, was 7.11 billion. So when analysts, even up to the day before earnings, a lot of these companies, they are starting to update here. As you can see here, these are a few updating the expectations starting to go on. But even before this, the analysts were not forecasting or projecting this sort of revenue growth. So this took everyone by surprise. Why, or from an analyst data point of view, why it was so good. This is an absolute beat on the earnings. Now the problem is that you look at Nvidia stock and you look at the rally that it's been on, and even until a couple of weeks ago, most of us was looking at Nvidia going, even when it was at 170 times earnings, going, yeah, like there's the AI hype kind of going on here at the moment, but no way does it justify to be on this sort of run. Now, obviously, that's the data that we had. Now, whoever it may be, whether, like we said, it was people that was inside Nvidia, companies that order from Nvidia, just general data that a lot of these investors that have access to that we don't have access to, clearly they were seeing something. Clearly they were seeing the signs of that, that everyone is forecasting a 7 billion revenue, it's actually going to come in at 11 billion revenue. And clearly there's some of that information going on. Now, some of that was leaked out there, and obviously clearly we're at the point now where the company's traded at 201 times earnings. But the difference is now is that obviously we're expecting 100% revenue growth. So you've kind of got to start readjusting your valuations now. Is like, how much is Nvidia going to grow on the revenue point of view? Because obviously they're expecting, and this is with some of the higher forecasting, 12% revenue growth. Obviously it's looking now that's probably going to be a little bit higher than what's forecast there. So everyone's going to catch up and rechange the numbers now. Obviously if you're growing at higher rates, you're going to command a higher valuation. Obviously a higher growth is probably going to lead to a higher, better line, and that P ratio will no longer be 201 times earnings. But what that will be is the ultimate question. Now, a lot of people are still looking at going, well, even with the factoring of this higher growth, this is still a pretty high valuation here and is overvalued. And that's probably true. I still think Nvidia, even with these sort of growth figures, is still looking at a pretty overvalued company. But we do have the context now until why was Nvidia $119 and then skyrocketed up to $387? There wasn't any clear information. Obviously there was the hype around the AI situation, but it wasn't clear why it was running up so much. Now we kind of have the clarity on why Nvidia was doing so well. Nvidia was doing so well because just a few people were cheating and having access to data that was not public knowledge yet. And that's kind of sometimes the frustrating thing that does happen in the stock market. However, now we do have the context of why people were rallying so much or investing into, or the big money was going into Nvidia. We can look at these numbers now and think, well, looking at this, is this still a fair reflection for Nvidia considering the AI hype? Now, like I said, in my opinion, I think even when you factor in the good growth they will have, it is still a little bit rich. However, I would say the same that I always say, is that I would not back against Nvidia. I would not back against these sort of companies, because even though I think these are rich valuations, they can still go on crazy runs. We saw that in 2021. Stocks are going crazy runs. We don't know how long this AI hype will go on for. We don't know what the demand could potentially be. And it could justify that actually Nvidia will go up to $386, up to $1,000. And you would say at that point, well, it was still a cheap investment to make, or it should be in the stock that you invested in. And it could have been. But look at the numbers that we have here. You got to kind of make your mind up of, is it going to realistically do that, or is there already a lot of assumption and growth priced in here, which is a tricky thing? So, yeah, just wanted to talk about Nvidia today. Talk about the jump. Talk about the how much that Nvidia share price has actually been, and the S&P 500 as well as the big tech have been actually covering up a few cracks in the stock market at the moment, and also the ways that Wall Street cheat and get this information a little bit ahead of what we can get it, or what is public knowledge. And sometimes you look at the stock prices that go on crazy runs and going, why is it going on the crazy run? And then eventually the public knowledge comes out in a few weeks time, like, oh, that's why it went on a crazy run. And it also goes on the way down. There's always times as well on stocks where you're looking at stocks and you go, why is the stock going on the way, like, why is that stock down so much? Why is that stock down 30, 40, 50%? When there's no public information out there why that's happening. And sometimes then that does happen, that information becomes public, and you're like, oh, so the Wall Street analysts, big money, knew this was coming out a few weeks before we even did it. You know, a prime example of this would be like the likes of SVL Capital. You know, SVL Capital's down 30-40%, and you're like, well, why is it down? You know, Matt gone in for surgery, but you know, why is it panicking so much? And then it comes out that actually he's having treatment for cancer. And you're like, whoa, okay. You know, he may be not actually in that company for much longer if this is a serious issue. It's like there's a lot of times that kind of situation does happen anyway. So yeah, I thought I'd make you aware of that situation and my thoughts on the video currently going on at the moment. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button. See you in a bit.